Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. So I'm driving in the rain. Yeah, I'm back at the East Coast now, going to my parents' house in Virginia near Washington, D.C. And I thought this would actually be a good place to talk a little bit more about full self-driving and some of the subtle improvements that I've noticed. So first of all, flew back in from Colorado yesterday. Thank you all for, chilling with me and while I was in Colorado. I know there's some random videos and stuff that I did, but such is life. I've also got a Tell You Right t-shirt, and misinformation is overtaking a little nap because she will be driving next. But anyway, a couple of things that I noticed. Number one, last night driving home from the airport, it's like an 80-mile drive. So, and it pretty much sucks when your flight gets delayed and you're coming in at midnight or whatever. But anyway, there was poor weather, so it was like going back and forth between doing autopilot navigation or not. But anyway, it visualized. It didn't visualize it, so I didn't see. It didn't show it on the screen, but it definitely detected something. I don't even know exactly what it was. I think it was either like a large pile of clothes or a piece of a tire or something. But it was something substantial in the road. It was off to the side of the road, but what I noticed was the car slowed down and deviated around it. So that was actually really good to know. It didn't show it on the screen. It didn't show that there was something there, but it was clearly detecting that there was some sort of object. And like I said, I don't even know what it was because, zipping by at 70 miles an hour or whatever, I was on the highway. Who knows what it was, but I saw it, and about the time I saw it, the car deviated around it. And so I thought that was really, really good to know. It inspires a lot of confidence when you realize that the car will actually get out of the way of something, even if it doesn't know exactly what it is. So that's a really good thing, and it's actually really complicated to do. It's not a simple matter for the car to just automatically know every object in the world. So it's really good that it's able to, even if it's not able to visualize and understand exactly what that thing is. By the way, you can see the Gaffney Peach behind us, and you can see how like narrow and gross these roads are here. We're in South Carolina. It's basically a third world country. They don't take care of their roads at all. It's just terrible. Anyway, so that was really cool. The other thing that I noticed multiple times, including today, we've been on the road a couple of hours already today, is that the car is now slowing down and getting out of the way for emergency vehicles in your half. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've noticed it not on the highway, but this is it's a pretty rare occurrence, of course, to see emergency vehicles. But last night, driving home, there were two situations where there were police cars on the side of the road. I don't know if there was an accident or somebody was pulled over, but the car slowed down. So it was a 70-mile-an-hour zone. It slowed down to about 45, moved into the other lane, kind of pissed off a couple of people who were around me because it was going very slowly. But it did what it needed to do. Also, notice it's amazing how good this car is about keeping its lane when you have these narrow lanes. Because that truck was very close to us, but it was like, nope, I got this. Anyway, so it did a really good job with that. And then today it had one of those instances this morning on this side of the road, but then there was police cars on the other side of the road. So it's a divided highway, right? So two lanes, a median, 2 lanes, and there were police cars on the other side with their sirens, with their headlights, and it did not stop or brake or indicate any kind of indication for them. So I thought that was really excellent that it did that, and it understood that that's on the other side of the road. Also, this is interesting. There's a camper that's way into my lane, and so the car is slowing down in order to avoid it. I don't know what it's going to do. It should actually move over. All right, there you go. This camper has just that guy's definitely decided to be close here. Jeez, that was ridiculous. My camper was like, I'm going to just play in your lane, man. You got to stay in your own lane at this point. All right, anyway, so let's see if we can get back into there we go. All right, that was not cool, that camper being that close. So anyway, it was really good to see that the car was not slowing down for the other side. And yes, people talk about this, how close the car comes. This is one of those situations, and this is the old stack because we're driving on the highway. I hope with the new full self-driving stack that the car will actually slide over when there's vehicles that are close to it. Because this is really aggressive about staying in the center of the lane using the old stack, which is what's currently on this version of the full self-driving. So anyway, sometimes it feels a little bit on the dangerous side because it stays so close. But then again, it also slowed down and it got around it and it maneuvered, so it did all the right things. Speaking of which, Elon Musk said that the next version of the full self-driving software is coming this weekend. So today is Thursday, so hopefully somewhere Saturday, Sunday, maybe we'll get it for the drive home. Since we're driving home on Sunday, that would be super cool. I think that Elon said that it was so there's 10.10.2 is what we're on right now. Elon had mentioned 10.12 was the next one that's going to be coming out, and it's possible that they did that because they wanted to avoid version 10.11 because that might confuse people, because version 11 of the software is supposed to be the one stack to rule them all thing. So anyway, let's see what the car does. Nope, it's not going to do it. Okay. It was like, oops, that was my mistake. I turned off the autopilot. Anyway, so that will be interesting to see what that version is and what it entails. It's, I think, almost definitely not going to be the version 11 because that was that seems to still be off in the distance a little bit. Elon Musk did mention in a tweet recently that version 11 of the software they were focusing, I don't know if it's version 11, but whatever, they're focusing so much on getting the street traffic driving, like regular traffic driving, as good as possible and have as few interventions as possible before they focus on the highway driving again. So I think that he said that the interventions on the streets are getting so few that they're actually ready to turn their attention to the highway driving stack again. So I don't know if maybe they've modified I don't know. I still think it'll be version 11 that will be the version that comes out that will have full self-driving, new beta, whatever, for the highways in addition to the streets. But it's really interesting to see that Elon Musk is saying that the interventions have gone down to a very, very minimal amount of interventions. So that's really cool. I've noticed that myself. I'm kind of differentiating things now. I call some interventions of convenience and others emergent interventions. So interventions of convenience would be things where I just feel like I just want to be more aggressive or something, and I want to pull over into another lane where there's fewer cars or whatever, those kinds of things where it's just like me saying like, oh, I would just prefer this. Interventions of emergency or emergent interventions, of course, are completely different. Those are the kind of interventions that you have when you really need to take over in order to keep the car from becoming unsafe. I'll say that the morning that I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and drove to the airport, Atlanta airport, about an 80-mile drive. Super tired at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I think the car was definitely safer than me. Of course, I was monitoring the car and everything, right? And then last night I had a couple of delayed flights, or one delayed flight. So I got home around midnight, had to drive home with the car, and it was, again, much safer than I would have been. I was pretty out of it after spending a whole day traveling. So I think that was very, very safe as well. It was much safer to have the car drive and have me monitor the car than it would have been for me to drive. So these situations, it's starting to become apparent to me, and again, everybody's above average, right? But I feel like I'm a pretty good driver. But I also understand, even this morning, I'm exhausted. I've been traveling. I got 5 hours of sleep last night, back up and driving again. So I'm, not the most with it right now. And the car is definitely a better driver under the situation where I am not at my peak. So I think that's really important. And you think about the number of people that I'm driving past and through all this nasty construction and everything, and how all those people who might be at less than 100%, how important it is that the car is able to compensate for that, both for me as a driver and also for all the other people around me. So I think that's really important too. And one other thing that I've noticed very, very definitely, and people have been saying, oh, I don't think it's real true or not, but it's definitely true. And that is, of course, I have my cell phone a lot of times down in the little pocket here, and yes, I do sometimes look down to see what the notifications are, something like that. Or sometimes I'll just kind of look at the map and get distracted or something. As soon as that happens, the camera up here, it goes, please pay attention to the road. Like, it not only says that in text, but actually beeps, and it's a polite It's a polite beep. It was like that. That was actually telling me to apply slight turning pressure. It gets a little sketched out about the amount of construction that's around here sometimes. But anyway, so I do have my hand is on the wheel. And FYI, for people who might be watching this the first time, I am in control of this vehicle. I mean, the car is driving itself, but I'm monitoring it constantly. I have one hand on the wheel. I know you can't see it. It's usually this one, but I tend to like to gesture when I talk. So anyway, I'm totally in charge. Legally, I'm in charge of this car. But what I'm saying is that when I'm not at 100%, or even now when I'm generally at 100%, the car drives very, very well. These are gnarly conditions. It's in construction. You can feel how the road is bouncing around. It's just terrible, terrible roads. I don't know. I apologize to people who live in South Carolina. I lived here for 4 years, and it really does feel like a third world country. They don't take care of their infrastructure very well. So at least they're doing repair work right now, so I guess that's good. But this has been going on for about 4 or 5 years. And as far as I can tell, they haven't made any progress at all. So it just ends up being a giant annoyance and nothing actually happens. So anyway, it's really good to notice that the car is constantly monitoring you, making sure not just that you're jiggling the steering wheel every once in a while, but also keeping your eye on the road. And if you don't, it immediately, like very, very quickly, within seconds, says like, pay attention to the road, please. And it does that either on the highway or if I'm driving on the full self-driving beta with the cool visualization and everything. So anyway, I think that all of that is just amazing stuff. You can see again, I don't know if you can see it actually, there's a big cement wall over here that was right next to where the car was. There's a truck over on this side. It's pretty ridiculous traffic, and it goes on for like 30 miles, so it's a very long time. Anyway, I'm super impressed with what's going on with full self-driving, both the beta and even the stuff that's the old stack on the highway. It works really, really well. I'm super excited to see what version 10.12 likely is going to be. Again, I don't think they're going to call it version 10.11, at least according to what Elon said. Maybe they will. It doesn't really matter what the number is. It's not going to be version 11 with the big one stack to rule them all kind of thing. But I'm super excited to see what improvements get made with that. If we get release notes, of course, sorry, all these gas-powered trucks are really, really loud. If we get the release notes, I'll definitely let you know how that goes. And, you know, we'll do another review of what's changed in the release notes. But, oh, the other thing I wanted to say was, of course, when I was driving in Colorado, I had to rent a car. I don't know what that was beeping about. Anyway, I had to rent a car, and I actually went to Hertz and tried to rent a Tesla, but I was at the Montrose airport, and they were laughing because literally they have like 3 rental cars. So they were like, you get what you get around here. So anyway, I had a regular rental car, and boy, did I cry at the gas tank. Oh man, when I had to fill up the gas twice for it. That was pretty tragic to do that. So it really, wow. I mean, these days driving with an electric vehicle starts to feel like I was really like a genius a year and a half ago when we decided to buy this car. It seemed really expensive at the time, but sorry, this thing's bouncing around because the roads are so terrible. But you know, at this point, the gas prices are just so outrageous that I feel really bad for everybody who's having to fill up with gas at the gas station. So sorry, guys. I mean, we still have a gas-powered car, so we're still in that same situation. So anyway, it is what it is at this point. But with the war going on and the instability, it's definitely made it very, very pricey for anybody to drive. And you know, prices of everything have gone up right now, right? Because transportation, the truck that I'm passing right now, has to use a lot more money to fill up the gas tanks in order to transport the goods that they have to. So it's a pretty bad situation. I totally am in agreement with Elon Musk that we need to, right now, make sure that we get more energy however we get it, so that we can become less dependent on these pretty awful countries that are just doing very bad between war, humanitarian rights violations, all sorts of other things. Sorry, I shouldn't call it war, right? Not allowed to. If I was in Russia, I'd have to call it something like a special military operation or something along those lines. What a ridiculous joke. But anyway, hopefully that stuff will resolve itself relatively soon and relatively peacefully, and we can at least get lower gas prices. I don't have any schadenfreude about this because it's very difficult to afford an EV still. They're very expensive and they're hard to get. So I understand that a lot of people are just stuck in this, but the faster we can make a transition to, I have no idea why it's beeping, by the way. I do have my hand on it. Anyway, You just never know. And thank goodness we're almost out of South Carolina. If I keep talking long enough, you'll suddenly notice that the roads are going to get a whole lot better when we get to North Carolina, and everything improves drastically. The fireworks store is like the last exit before the North Carolina border. So anyway, as we woo, that's fun. Yeah, wow, this is just terrible driving. I did this on purpose. I actually wanted to show this car driving full self-driving on, not just regular highways, but just terrible highways. And gosh, oh my gosh, the conditions are just terrible in this state. Anyway, so sorry, I think I turned the wheel too hard. There we go, North Carolina, roads smoothed out, everything's lovely again. South Carolina really has their work cut out for them to try to make this work. Oh, I guess we're not in North Carolina yet. Almost. Anyway, it's a definite difference when you get to North Carolina versus South Carolina. So people who live in North Carolina can lord it all over the people from South Carolina if they want to. But anyway, I hope that that's valuable insights about driving with full self-driving. Between having the EV car and having very, very low cost in terms of filling up, I've been looking at the statistics on the we're still in South Carolina, sorry. Obviously, you can see that there's still construction going on. I've been looking at the charging statistics where it shows you how much money you save every month. No idea why it's beeping at me. I got my hand right on the wheel. It shows you all the statistics of how much you're saving by using electricity versus gas, and it has gone up a lot recently, quite clearly because the gas prices have gone up. So anyway, pretty crazy. I'm going to sign off here before I get to North Carolina. Sorry about the really, really bad roads, but at least you get a sense of how this car does in, it's raining outside, really bad roads, really heavy traffic back there. I'm actually not in it at the moment. And it's able to handle all of that stuff with a plum. It really doesn't do bad. The only thing I notice on this old stack is it's very, very aggressive about centering itself in the lane, whereas it would be nice if it would shift over just a little bit. Oh, here's the North Carolina sign. And so let's see, North Carolina right here. Oh yeah, like I said, it's like a world of difference. For people who are outside the United States, every state has their own, they get federal money to do highway work, but they get to choose how to utilize it and how to maintain their roads and how much state funding they want to put in on the roads. And the differences between states are just astounding. When you go from Georgia to South Carolina, the road quality deteriorates drastically. And when you go from South Carolina to North Carolina, it improves drastically. So it's pretty impressive how bad the roads can be in some states in this country. So anyway, I hope you all are having a lovely week, and I will talk to you again soon. In the meantime, bye-bye.